right. Hello and welcome to the Player to Coach podcast. This is episode 20. I'm your host, Josh Hill, and alongside me is my former teammate, good friend, now co host, Jordan Alexander. What's going on, dude?
Not much, just chilling in the hotel room right now, out on the road for some work. Yeah, just been grinding with basketball and beginning of the season. We're a few weeks in now with practice and just less than a month out now from our first game, which is kind of crazy. It seems like it's coming up fast. So yeah, just kind of in grind mode. You know the drill. You know what that time of year means. So
Oh yeah, for sure. It's weird being on the other end of it, especially now that this is gonna be my first fall where I'm not playing or coaching and like being a part of a team. So it's kind of a weird season where I get that not necessarily anxiety, but just that anxiousness of like, I feel like I should be prepping for something, getting ready for something. But
mhm.
so kind of on the other end of things, I'm rocking my favorite sweatshirt. It's the Stanley basketball silhouette.
There you
Uh
go.
it's best one of the best office episodes. Get to tie it into this basketball thing. And then I'm also rocking the little brace on my thumb.
Oh, geez.
Jacked it up playing basketball a little while ago. Thought it was a jammed thumb, but usually jam thumbs don't last for 4 weeks and then have shooting pains up your wrist. So a little bit more
Nice.
than jam there. So, but it's okay because it's on my right hand. And if you haven't seen my Instagram, I'm a lefty shooter now. So it's just kind of that ball security part that I need to get down. But the
You
finish
have
is still
more
nice.
you have more reason to make the official switch.
I mean, I might as well. It really is just a placement thing now, but no problems there. I'm basically lefty now. All right, so this is I mean, major NBA news. We were going to try to talk about as much as we could. The big and obvious one is Draymond Green punching Jordan Poole. So we're just going to jump right into it. I don't know if I've ever seen something escalate that quickly. And obviously, there's two major parts to this. There's obviously Draymond punching his teammate in preseason. So it's not like middle of the season, anything crazy's happening, like the world's falling and it gets over emotional. It's like, we're like week one in the preseason games. Like, so he's already punching teammates. Not really sure what happened before that, but I think there's another big storyline of how did this video get out?
Hmm.
Whatever volunteer assistant coordinator or whatever would just offered a offered a paycheck from TMZ or whatever that happened. I think that changes a lot of the perception of what the backlash of this is going to be. Obviously there's always going to be percussions of you punching a teammate, and like a little bit of a fallout. But if all we kind of hear is like, yeah, like a strike happened, but like we don't really get to know the intimate details of it, like the Warriors can kind of do whatever they want, but now everyone's eyes are on it. And so you kind of have to adjust that punishment a little bit. And you would think that obviously in a perfect world, your punishment would stay the same no matter if there's eyes on it or not. But that's just kind of the reality of life where if there's a video recording of something and you have everybody else's opinion, then that kind of gets adjusted, um, however that works out. But I'm curious your thoughts on it because that was a pretty aggressive blow, and I don't really know what the lead up was to that, but it was pretty shocking to see that video as well.
Yeah, for sure. I I think you kind of mentioned it. The biggest thing for me is I want to know what kind of led into that. Like why, like not that it's justified at all, but what justified him to even think about doing something like that. Um, I don't really blame Poole's reaction to shoving him off of him because like Draymond just like walked right up to him, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of I don't know. That was weird. Like Draymond started it and finished it. So like uh yeah, I don't know. That was weird. And there's all the reports and allegations of like, did Poole have this coming and da 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 and all this stuff. And Iguodala has been pretty vocal on social media of like, don't try to play that storyline of like, Jordan Poole had this, coming towards him sort of thing, like for a while now. So it's just really interesting to kind of see if anything will come out as to like what the reasoning is, or if it ever will. I wouldn't expect it to. I think from like a professional standpoint, I don't think it should, unless that's disclosed by Draymond and Jordan Poole themselves. So yeah, I don't know. But like you said, I don't know how the video got released. That's pretty crazy. That brings like a whole new layer into this. Draymond has to do now, like if he's going to be suspended, or how long is he going to be suspended, or what are the repercussions. I think the video being leaked plays a really big role in that happening and what that outcome is. So be interesting. You hear of like in practice scuffles and fights, and um, we've been a part of practices where there's been things like that, but not to that extreme. um, that was pretty crazy. So yeah, it's just weird. Really interested to see how it plays out. I don't really know. It didn't seem like things were good. Draymond in his interview, was it yesterday? Kind of talked about how things haven't been going good for him off the floor. He's in a bad mental space, but like it's still inexcusable. Um, so who knows? It just seems like there's a lot of drama with this. But
Yeah, for sure. It's yeah, you're right. We have been a part of a few practices that have gone to that. And I think in general now it's kind of a like, oh, okay, there was a fight in sports. So like guys got up in each other's faces and then, the teammates kind of pulled each other back. But then you see the video and you're like, oh shoot, that was like that dude was really swinging. And it wasn't even it looked like the team was in shock because nobody like ran to break him up. Like there's a few coaches in the area that kind of pushed him apart, but it was like did this dude just swing at him like immediately? Like it was pretty crazy. So yeah, I don't know what was going on with Draymond in that moment. Yeah, just a wild scene. And it kind of putting on your investigative cap, like it wasn't the greatest quality of video that came out. So I wonder if that was like a security camera, like from the gym that they were at, like whatever that may be, not necessarily like somebody on their team that was like setting up to like record a video because it was like it looked like it was recorded on a calculator type of quality. So I don't really know what it exactly was. So hopefully, nobody who's trying to climb up the video coordinator ladder over there in the Warriors building got executed over this. But yeah, kind of it was just wild because I think that was most people's response is okay, there was some fight that happened and it's Draymond just being Draymond or whatever. But then you see the video and you're like, dang, this dude, he really went for him. And he like kind of charged at him like when he was on the ground too. It wasn't like a
yeah,
swing and walk away moment. It's pretty wild. So um I don't I don't really know I don't really know where the line on this is, but it is always something I think about often is like the perception of different people. Um like you think about when the Last Dance documentary came out and like I think this is like
mhm.
the story have been talked about before, but like MJ punched Steve Kerr in practice, but like it's MJ. So a lot of people's response is like, oh, well, like that's just MJ being MJ, like most competitive guy in the world. And obviously, like the situation is probably vastly different, but it is always just interesting how reputation and perception of a player, like I think if there was a lot of other people in the league that tried to punch a teammate, like would have the reaction would have been different. But because it's Draymond, I think
Right.
the reactions is escalated a little bit. And I mean that's kind of around every sport and life really. Like if when you're winning and you're perceived a certain way, like your actions are perceived a certain way. So I don't know exactly um how this is all going to play out. And I don't know how you'd be like cool with a guy after getting punched like that. It's not like I
Yeah.
don't really like I don't know how you actually become, because you can be cordial, I guess, but anybody who's made a deep playoff push and like had that really close tight knit team, like there's trust and um there's like a togetherness. But I don't know how you have that when someone's like actually trying to take your head off. Like that's a pretty crazy scenario.
right, like, can it be repaired? Can the relationship be repaired? I think a lot of it maybe has to do with where the relationship was before. Um, but yeah, I think the other interesting like thought on this is, and you kind of just mentioned it, like reputation maybe of Draymond and how people respond to it because of who it is. But how think about how tough this is for the Warriors organization in general. If it was anyone, it'd be tough, right? But think about how much protecting of him and how much he represents the Warriors and how he's represented the Warriors over the last decade. Um, Thinking about him getting suspended in the finals for like kicking dudes, and just like how vocal he is in the media, and now with his podcast, and um, like he kind of is the person that'll just say whatever, right? And the Warriors have allowed him to be himself in that way. But now they have to figure out this situation with the guy that creates the most controversy within their organization, right? So it's just really interesting. Like, if it was someone else in their organization that wasn't maybe as important of a piece or wasn't as controversial as him, how do they handle that? Like, it's going to be handled different than I think it would be with
100%.
player X because it is Draymond, right? So it's just really interesting, and he's easy to hate if you're a basketball fan. Like, he's one of those guys. Like, if he's not on your team, then you don't like him, sort of thing. So yeah, he's kind of done it to himself. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's just going to be weird. It's going to be really weird to see how the season plays out because of it.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, it's been weird last like month and a half. Like, the two teams that played in the finals got all this drama now all of a sudden within the organization. It's just for very different reasons, but still.
Yeah, it is interesting, and with Draymond, it's kind of one of those things where you you take the good with the bad because there are so many great moments that he has where it's like somebody who's not that passionate and plays the way that he does doesn't affect the game that way, but then you also get the other side of it as well where the same type of passion and energy and drive and vigor towards trying to win could also bubble over in the wrong ways. So it's one of those things where yeah, he's built himself a reputation, and anytime Draymond Green's mixed up in some sort of a fight, it's kind of like Draymond doing Draymond things again. But there's also the other side of it of like some people never get into scuffles and never get into that, but they have those moments where it's like, bro, do you care? Like, it kind of be nice to show a little bit of. So it's always fascinating. Obviously, like there's never an excuse for like punching a teammate in the face, especially the
Right.
way that it happened. But it is kind of one of those things where it's like you do kind of take what you get. Like I don't think anybody who um, has watched the Warriors all these years can deny like how great of a basketball player he is. Like, and it's hard to point to like a specific skill that he has, but the the willingness to play the role that he has, to have the emotional effect on a game, and to be somebody who's so like his um to just be in that like ultimate supportive cast role, like to make Steph Curry even like greater than he is. So I think it's just fascinating because he's so good at impacting the game, but there are definitely so many of those moments where it's like, dude, need to tone it back. Like, getting taxed at bad times, like, you just kind of take what you get. Same thing that's made him great is the same thing that also, tends to pull back a little bit. But
Do you think it's safe to say that he and Jordan Poole maybe didn't have an actual, like, maybe the best relationship? Like, because you're not going to do that to, like, your boy, right? Like, is
yeah.
that crazy to think? Like
Yeah, I
he's
don't
not, I don't know. Like,
I,
maybe he has an okay relationship, and it's probably, not fair to, like, assume or guess, but maybe they have an okay relationship, but it's nowhere near, like, that great of one. Like you're not gonna do that. Like I'm not walking up to you and doing that.
Yeah, I don't know. That one's interesting because I think that I think the thing that separates a lot of this discussion is like how quickly he went straight for like a punch to the face and how hard it was. It wasn't like, you're swinging because you're mad and it was like, I should have pulled back a little bit or whatever. But like like I have some other best friends and it's kind of like a not that we throw hands at all, but it is a little bit of like, I know it gets you going. And so if you say something to me, it's like I know exactly what to say to get you going. And it is a little bit of that, that fist colliding type of a thing. So I don't see that with them. And obviously this is coming from a perspective of somebody who is not in the organization. I don't know them and I just I played 2 years of NAIA basketball and I'm just observing from Chicago, but it doesn't,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fascinating. I don't know. I like you said
Pushing and
earlier
shoving a
about,
teammate is different than what he did.
right. That's what I'm saying is like there's like I would say I'm more willing to throw a punch at a best friend than I am at somebody who I'm not close with, but not the way that he threw that punch.
Like
Like a playful.
I pushed Peyton Martin off of me in a practice one time,
I do remember that. That was freaking awesome. You guys were going at it.
and he's
Loved
my
it.
guy. But I
Shout out Peyton.
I wouldn't throw a haymaker. Like
For
what?
sure.
Like
For
that's
sure.
great. Like Draymond. It's easy to say like Draymond's not doing that to Steph or Clay.
No.
Like so. Well, first of all, if he did that to one of those two guys,
He would be.
he's long gone. But
You're
like
gone.
yeah, I don't know, man. That's just wild. Like
Yeah, it
it's
is.
crazy.
Also,
I guess I wasn't expecting to see that. I wasn't expecting to see the video be that
yeah.
extreme, right? Because like we didn't think as soon as it came out, the video wasn't out yet. So you're kind of like wondering, like, how bad was it? What actually happened? And then you see the video and you're like, oh my gosh.
Damn. Yeah.
Like I just yeah, so
Yeah.
I
I
don't know.
mean, you kind of mentioned it there as far as or a little bit ago about if we're ever gonna hear like why that happened from either Draymond side or Jordan Poole side or you know a third party. But
I kind of doubt it.
yeah,
I,
I doubt it. I think there's so much, especially with the video coming out. I'm sure the organization is pissed about that, first of all. And so now it's gonna be like, okay, this needs to be in-house. Like they're definitely gonna have to lay down that law, especially with their PR department having to deal with all this and all of that. But I don't know if we ever find out what that is. Um
do you think this escalates like an extreme take or something? Like, do you think like one of the two dudes is gone? Like, where someone's traded, or I don't know. Like, do they not resign? Pool? Do they not give him an extension? Is this something that's going to be prolonged and affect a long time from now? If you had to make a prediction, like people say that Draymond ran KD out, right?
yeah.
So, like, is this one of those situations? Are we kind of seeing it happen? I don't know.
I think it could, but I think it would be more of like every GM's job is to take every phone call and to listen to every offer, even if it's like, no, like obviously we're never going to straight like trade Steph Curry, but like if somebody calls and puts together something for Steph Curry, you're at least going to listen. And so it's kind of one of those things where it's like they could have something already in the works or an idea about somebody, and it might just be like, well, like this is already kind of a situation. We might as well just kind of neutralize it. But I don't see this being like get Poole out of here or like get Green out of here because of this thing. So it could be like the straw that breaks the camel's back to make a move. But I don't know if it'll ever be directly related though, because I mean we've kind of been in this like the last 2 years. It's kind of felt like when is Draymond going to kind of fall off? Because I mean once his athleticism goes, like how effective can he be? Other than being like a Udonis Haslam type of role on the bench. And I mean, I'm sure that especially right now. And like he's been playing well the last few years, but there's just those guys where like they don't translate very well to an older vet type of role. Um, and can just rely purely on their skill. Like what and like no offense to Draymond, but like what skill does he have? Other than just being a good glue guy, a good, he can play the game of basketball very, very well, but like his skill set is hard to like define, you know?
Mhm.
But
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I think I'd be surprised if something crazy happened with that organization, um, because like their future is pretty promising with in the short term future, right? Like they with Draymond, they have a legit shot again this year.
yeah,
And in a little bit longer future, like Poole is kind of that one, he's kind of the guy of that up and coming young core for them. So, um, is that something that's going to get broken apart? I would guess no, but I don't know. It's just crazy. Maybe it's just a speed bump in their story. I don't know.
yeah,
It's a big speed bump.
yeah. I mean, really, the best way to handle this is just to have Draymond say, "Here, you get a free shot on me. Call it even and go." It might just be the
Well,
best way to go.
obviously recover because I think he played in the preseason game tonight. So
Oh, he did.
I think so. Yeah,
Interesting.
but
All right.
Draymond was out there.
So just like this happened with the Warriors organization, this happened. Not this exactly, bad transition, but this stuff like this happens all the time, and I think the talking heads in sports that I've played previously for have hit this on the head multiple times, where it's like this. Let's not get too crazy. Like there's a video of Aaron Donald swinging the helmet at the dude in preseason
Right.
this year. It's just like that. Just it happens. Like get really really competitive people fighting for a spot or whatever it may be, and it's an emotional game, whatever it is. But it happens all the time. So kind of leading into we kind of hit on this, how is this going to affect them long term, team chemistry, like how exactly do you build that, how do you recover from something like this? I think one of the best ways to build team chemistry is to go through a tough time, like
Yeah.
just like anything in life, like any relationship, anything that you're working on or a passion. Like if you don't know how you're going to react during a hard time, then you don't really know who you are, kind of a thing. So I think that's a really good way to figure out what type of a team you have. And I don't know if it's exactly witnessing a teammate punch somebody, but that is always a big thing. So what are some of the ways that you can, from a coach's perspective, maybe influence or drive or um, get your team chemistry to kind of gel a little bit quicker? Like we talked about on a previous episode, you guys going on your team trip and stuff like that, where you get to know guys off the court. But how important is team chemistry, and how exactly do you build that?
Yeah. First of all, I think it's super important. I think you have to have it if you want any chance to win. Um, and you can get team chemistry a multitude of ways. Like you said, going through a tough time together. I think things like that either break you apart or they bring you closer together. So if you can come closer together as a team through a tough time, I really think that you're building chemistry. Um, you're building a stronger bond. Um, but yeah, like some things that we've done or would have to be, yeah, like a team retreat, getting to know people off the court. I think that's really important. Even if you don't plan on being buddies or friends with dudes on your team, like off the floor, that's totally okay. Um, I don't think you got to be best friends with everyone on your team, but when you know someone off the court, I think it directly translates to how you play with them on the court, how you communicate on the court, how you respect each other on the court, what the expectation level is. You might get where someone's coming from a little bit more, whether you agree with it or not, right? So I think getting to know people off the court is really important, um, through conversations, through being vulnerable. Um, if you really want to, it's just like any relationship, right? I think you have to be vulnerable if you want that relationship to grow, if you want there to be chemistry there. And that can be a tough thing for people, especially for teammates. How do you be vulnerable with a teammate, right? Like, um, talk about tough times that happen in your life, basketball or non-basketball related, um, things like that. Um, yeah, I just think like the grind of a season and the grind of like practice naturally is going to help a team build chemistry. But like the speed bumps along the way, how you can come out of those things helps a lot. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of
Yeah, I
different ways,
mean,
I feel like.
for sure. I think one of the biggest ways for myself um was like road trips for sure.
Hmm.
Because getting to maybe bunk and like get a hotel room with somebody who you might not normally hang out with, or you get seated on the bus with somebody who you might not normally hang out with, or and and it's one of those things where you're in a hostile environment and an away game, and um you got nobody supporting you there. It's just sometimes you get some nasty crowds, and it's just kind of one of those, like, it's just us versus them. And so it's in those moments that it's really easy to bond um a little bit quicker with some people who you may not have bonded with incredibly. um I mean, you might not have bonded with very much before, especially when it's your own gym. You can kind of get in and get your warm up stuff in on your own time and whatever. But when you're bussing from place to place, and it's trying to recover after an away game when you don't have your own training room to go to and all that type of stuff, I think that's it's a quick way to build a little bit of team chemistry and just get to know. I mean, because that's really what it is just getting to know your team. You kind of mentioned it's not always just on the court stuff, but yeah, it'll naturally happen over the course of a season, and it really is just kind of how you respond to adversity. Like, that's just all it is. You never really know who your team is until you respond to adversity.
Yeah.
I think every coach knows that. It's always great to go on a big win streak. It's just kind of, all right, when are we going to be faced with, team jumps out to a 15-point lead, right off the bat? How does your team respond in that moment? Is it kind of a like, well, just F it, it's just one of those games, and we're just gonna call it a day and hope for a better turnout next time? Or are we really gonna buckle down and grind and trust the offense that we've established, trust our teammates to do their job and really chip away at this lead? It's that kind of stuff that really um, builds up that equity of trust between your teammates. I think that's the biggest thing, is that trust factor, because you can have good off the court chemistry with somebody and be buddies, but once you see them start to slack off, and or maybe not respond the best way to adversity, that can kind of create a little bit of a divide of, hey man, like, come on, we're supposed to have one goal. Like, see some dude who's maybe not getting the playing time that he wants, and um rather than speaking with coaches and teammates and finding ways to contribute and be a positive in that role, might start to like, hey, that dude shouldn't be getting my playing time, or that kind of stuff that starts to wedge in between. I think those are the thorns and wedges that kind of get in between true team chemistry. But yeah, I think that's the kind of stuff that really does make or break teams on any level. There's a bunch of talent out there, and there's a lot of great coaches, but the team isn't on one heartbeat and um actually willing to like fight for each other and play together as a team. That's such a driving force than just a team that has a bunch of talent or a really good coaching staff, a really good recruiting class. It's that if guys are actually willing to buy in, actually willing to go and do stuff selflessly, that's what really is like the X factor in a team. But
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's cliche, but it's like that we over me mentality.
for sure.
Um, like especially at the college and professional level, um, I'd say most high school situations too, like the goal is to win, right? And that requires a team first type of mentality, which it's really a lot easier to build team chemistry when you have that mentality versus like, what can I get out of this as an individual? Um, and what's best for me, right? And not the team first. So, um, yeah, I think that sometimes is an adjustment for players making, the jump from high school to college, for example, right? Like the college level, we're trying to win. Like we're trying to, make postseason runs. We're trying to win championships. We're trying to get, have a great season winning. And yeah, you're trying to do that in high school too. But, now, like even I feel like more recent than it used to be. And it's always been like this, but there's a lot of high schoolers that are like trying to get a scholarship. Well, that's a me thing, right? And there are college players out there that are trying to get a pro contract. That's a me thing, but a lot of that stuff is a byproduct of how your team success is. And so, um,
Yeah.
yeah, I just think like it's important to have the right mentality when approaching, you know, what team chemistry can really look like for you and your team wherever you're at. So,
Unfortunately, we lost Jordan due to some hotel internet connection issues. So, thankfully, he finished up most of his point. And honestly, I didn't have too much else to say about team chemistry on that front. So, we're just gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up. A few things. We've got some awesome new content coming out soon that is different from what we've been doing. I'm not gonna spoil it just yet. Keep you guys on your toes. So we got that coming up. Probably gonna come out in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Just to kind of kick off the college basketball season. It'll be a lot of fun. So we got some new content coming out soon. Got a few ideas for some different forms of content. So if there's something that you, the listener, would like to see more of that we've done before, you've seen somebody else do that you think would be good for us to do, a little bit of listener feedback wouldn't be the worst thing. And so don't worry, I'll be scrolling through millions and millions of different comments and suggestions. I'll get to everybody eventually. So feel free to drop something in there. Whether if you guys watch on YouTube, or if you guys just listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or if you guys just get to our clips on social media, all are welcome and appreciated. And we thank you guys for your support and your listening and all that good stuff. So if you guys have any suggestions, or um, see something that you think that we would enjoy doing, that would also be good. We got a few ideas kind of cooking up, and making sure all the nooks and crannies are taken care of before we actually start doing that stuff. But yeah, I got some fun stuff coming up. I know I don't do this often, but got to do it. Please subscribe, like, share this with other people. Again, if you guys don't like what we do, what are you doing? Just move on with your life. I don't blame you. Just move on. It's okay. But if you do happen to like what we do, or somebody that would like to listen or watch what we do, go ahead and share it with them. Really appreciate you guys for listening. And anytime you guys are just working on chores around the house, if you guys got a long drive this weekend, feel free to just pop on, Player to Coach Pod. We appreciate you guys. Peace.